Resident Evil 5, although a great game in its own right, was the beginning of the drastic transition of the long-running series from survival horror to the action genre. Subsequent entries such as Resident Evil 6 and spin-offs such as Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City and the recently released Umbrella Corps literally butchered any kind of connection hardcore fans had with the once great series. But then, Capcom recently announced Resident Evil 7, along with a string of excellent releases in the past in the form of Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. Overall, it's been a roller coaster ride for the long-running series with flashes of brilliance and mediocrity in between. Capcom is committed to the Resident Evil brand this generation, and they have been consistently releasing remasters and ports of older games on current-gen consoles. A couple of months ago, Capcom released Resident Evil 6 on the PS4 and Xbox One, and as expected, launching on current-gen consoles in no way improved the game, which was already disappointing to begin with. However, a jump to 1080p resolution and 60 FPS made the gameplay feel smooth and responsive. Resident Evil 5, on the other hand, is a different story. The follow-up to Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5 was far more action-focused, but was largely a satisfying experience, and it goes without saying that not much has been changed in current-gen ports. Other than a native 1080p resolution and performance improvements, we're largely looking at the same product that Capcom released 7 years ago. However, it's the performance department where the PS4 and Xbox One versions struggle. Both versions target a 60 FPS performance cap, but the game has a hard time reaching that on both consoles. Granted, there are some sequences where frame rate does reach 60 FPS, but it's not consistent. It must be noted that Capcom have made it clear that this is not a remaster and is a direct port of the last gen versions. So if you're expecting improved visuals along the lines of, say, Resident Evil 0 or Resident Evil 1 Remastered, then you will be sorely disappointed. Besides better performance and image quality, there is no major improvement in the various graphical facets that the game offers. Although we must admit that the game has aged quite well, but it's a tad disappointing that Capcom have simply put out a one-to-one port. Most of Resident Evil 5 takes place in broad daylight, killing off any suspense or horror elements right off the bat. Granted, the core gameplay mechanics are still intact, and they still feel surprisingly satisfying in this age. It's still unfortunate that the day setting sticks out as a sore thumb, not to mention that the later half of the game is all about taking cover and shooting the bad guys instead of the usual scares and puzzle solving that we all expect from a mainline Resident Evil game. Having said that, the shooting still feels remarkably tight, and the intriguing inventory management system, co-op mechanics coupled with some excellent boss fights, and well-paced set pieces are still intact in this port. The current-gen versions of Resident Evil 5 all come packed with all previously released DLC, such as the Lost in Nightmare and Desperate Escape story episodes. Furthermore, the Mercenaries mode is also included, but unlike the original, all the characters will be unlocked from the beginning. Overall, there's a lot of content here, enough to hook you over for almost 20 to 25 hours, so it goes without saying that those who have missed out on the original release can definitely invest in the re-release. Picking up this port will definitely make the wait easier for the upcoming Resident Evil 2 remake or Resident Evil 7, which seems to be returning to its survival horror roots beginning next year.
And that wraps it up. What are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it on Twitter and Facebook. And why not consider subscribing? We upload some really cool videos almost every day. Thank you for watching this video, and happy gaming!